Hey, it's Irreverent Aegis here, and in this video I want to take you through how to tank Lair of Maarselok hard mode. So I will go through my recommended gear, the types of skills you'll want on your bar, no matter what type of tank you are, as well as show you the footage from the actual fight. So unlike what I usually do, I did opt for Alkosh and Yulnakrins here, mostly because this boss has 17.6 million health and takes a while to burn down, so the extra damage is nice. I do front bar Alkosh and back bar Yulnakrins, and the reason why, I can apply all of the synergies on the front bar, switch to my back bar to apply the taunt and give the buff, and then I can also keep my monster helm while running a mythic item, Bloodlord's Embrace. Bloodlord's Embrace is awesome when you can use it because it provides for a ridiculous amount of magicka sustain. In this fight, you just bash once and you have that buff the entire fight. So that's really helpful. And then I do have Bloodspawn for the extra ultimate generation as well. Alright, let's talk a little bit about the types of skills you'll want to have on your bar. And this shouldn't matter what type of tank you are, you should have these general types of skills. Obviously, your tank heal is important, so you can heal yourself, but more importantly, you're going to want some sort of purge. The Necro tank, which I use for this fight, has what I consider to be the best, easiest purge in the game. It only costs less than 2,000 health to purge. Not only that, but it lights up showing you that you need to purge on your bar. So this thing's awesome. Other tanks can use their class abilities if they have one, like a Warden. Otherwise, you might get stuck using the purge skill itself, which costs a lot, but you will absolutely need a purge for this fight. Some extra damage mitigation goes a long way in this fight as well, so I use Spirit Guardian, my class skill. You can choose to use whatever you want, depending on your tank, and then access to Major Resolve in some way. I also front bar Glacial Colossus for the extra damage for my group. You can use Warhorn if you are not this type of tank. On my back bar, I actually like to double bar my tank heal and my purge for this fight because you never know when I'm going to need to purge and I don't want to be caught on the wrong bar. My range taunt to apply Yulnakrins, Blockade of Frost to apply the Crusher enchant, and then I use this for stamina sustain, Mortal Coil. It gives me passive stamina sustain, which is really nice. And then finally, Renewing Animation. This is my back bar ultimate, which I will go over how to use it properly in this fight because it's a little different. As far as champion points go, I like to have a lot into Ironclad for this fight. For the direct damage, there's a big chomp that the boss does, and then Thick-Skinned because there's a really nasty fire dot, which if you don't purge in time will hit you for a lot. So I like to have a lot in Thick-Skinned, and then I kind of balance out between Hardy and Elemental Defender as well, mostly because you do take a variety of damage in this fight. The green tree, the only thing that I do recommend is having a lot into tumbling because you will roll dodge quite a bit in this fight, as well as having quite a bit in Shadow Ward. Okay, let's get into the footage of the actual fight. This is quite a long fight, so I'm going to describe the mechanics of this fight in a couple different stages. So things are going to happen that you may be wondering, what was that? I'll get to it later on in the fight. First, let's start with the types of attacks that Maarselok does. First is his light attack. It's that fireball that he's shooting at me. When he hits you with this 3 times, it applies a really nasty fire dot on you that needs to be purged because it's really hard to heal through. You can heal through it, it's just difficult to. There is a caveat to purging it, however. It does an attack called Backfire when you hit purge that hits all of your allies for big damage. So before you purge, I recommend saying on mic, purging, that way your group can block. Next is his Fusra Da, which you should drag away from your group and roll dodge or block. Roll dodge is better because you'll avoid getting knocked back. He also does a wing slap. He won't hit you with it, but he will attack your team and one-shot them if they're in there. You see Korriban just got wrecked. When you die here, it's extra bad because you turn into a plant, and the plant needs to be DPS down before anybody can get the res. I chose to drop my insta-res on him after I Suck at Life burned down that plant. If the DPS die, good luck having the healer and the tank burn down the plant. It has a lot of health. This attack we're seeing here, that's his heavy. He puts a growing AoE underneath your feet. You take big damage if you block this, so I just recommend roll dodging it right before that AoE finishes going. This attack here is his Scream. This Scream, whenever it hits anybody, It does need to be roll dodged through. If you miss the roll dodge, or if you just block it, it's going to put that fire dot on anybody that it hits, and that needs to be purged. If multiple people get that fire dot, it's a big deal, because then you're going to get backfire from everyone when it's purged, or they're simply going to die because they didn't purge in time. As the tank, I like to call out roll left or roll right, depending on where it's coming from, because I have the best vantage point on when he's going to do it, because I'm focused on the boss while they're focused on doing damage, killing ads, etc. He also does a head swipe. This head swipe will kill anybody that doesn't block it, except for you. You can handle it. But anybody close by who doesn't block or roll dodge will die. And then last up, he does another heavy attack, a chomp. This chomp just needs to be roll dodged. You can block it, but again, it does hit you for a lot of damage even through a block, so I recommend roll dodging. He's about to do another sweep attack, and one other thing to mention when he does that is every time he does that sweep, it does spawn those Azure Blight worms. The last thing I want to mention, when he looks up at the sky and says D Fodon, that summons stranglers, and it also puts these puddles on the ground. That also means he's about to charge at you, at whoever has taunted him, actually. And what you want to do is simply have him charge between the same 2 points in the entire fight. Because when he does that, it really helps keep your orientation, which is the mechanic that I want to talk about next. Throughout the fight, and starting at 60% health, Maarselok is going to curse somebody and spit out a seed. If the cursed person doesn't cleanse in a timely fashion, they die, turn into a plant, and spawn a lurcher. In hard mode, the group needs to work together to determine who is cursed and what pad they need to cleanse on, as the curse isn't automatically revealed and only one cleanse pad will be correct. When the screen darkens for a second and you hear the little spit audio cue, 3 people will need to run to the seed and synergize it. The tank will only grab the synergy if a group member is dead. Each person, after synergizing, needs to scan the room and call out which cleanse pad 1, 2, or 3 is lit up. We designate pad 1 as the blue pad left of entrance, pad 2 is the center pad, and pad 3 is the pad right of entrance. At least 2 people will always see the same pad. If 2 group members say 1 and the other group member says 2, that means pad 1 is the correct pad, and the person who didn't say 1 has to run and cleanse on that pad. If all 3 group members say the same number pad, that means the tank, who likely didn't synergize, is the one who is cursed and needs to run over to that pad and cleanse. If somebody cleanses on the wrong pad, they die, turn into a plant, and spawn a lurcher. If somebody is standing on any cleanse pad and another team member cleanses, the person standing on the cleanse pad dies instantly. So everyone, especially the tank, should stay off the pads. If that isn't enough to keep track of, there is an extra mechanic at this time as well. Celine has a damage shield that needs to be burned down before anybody is even able to cleanse. Once her shield is burned down, the pads will be active for about 15 seconds or so. After the screen darkens or your group hears that audio cue for the seed, the DPS should burn down the shield on Celine, synergize the seed, and call out their number. If Celine's damage shield is burned at the wrong time, bad things tend to happen. The general rule is that Celine should be ignored except when somebody is cursed and when she starts shooting poison at everybody and needs to be interrupted. We designate our healer as the interrupter so the DPS can focus on Maarselok or ads. Following this rule will prevent Celine's damage shield from breaking at the wrong time. Now, as the tank, during this curse mechanic, it is important for you to know the location of 2 things. First is the seed. When the seed is spit out, look around the room and find it. If Maarselok decides to Fusro Da at you, make sure you aim that away from the seed so you don't wipe your group. You can actually see an example of this at timestamp 640 or so. Second, always know the location of the correct cleanse pad once your group reveals it. Again, this is because you need to make sure the person who is cleansing doesn't get hit by the Fusro Da or any other of the dragon AoEs. To summarize the curse phases of this fight one more time, I'll go over the rules. First, everyone needs to be on mic. Second, designate the pads as 1, 2, and 3 before you pull. Third, when the screen darkens or you hear the audio cue, the group needs to find and burn down Celine, find and synergize the seed, and then each individual needs to call out the pad they see lit up. The odd man out needs to cleanse on that pad, or the tank needs to if there's no odd man out. Finally, if somebody is dead, the tank will need to synergize the seed and call out a number as well. The curse mechanic happens regularly throughout the fight, starting at 60%. Now that this fight is wrapping up, I did want to mention that we as a group decided we were going to commit and ignore that last curse phase. Now that you've seen the entire fight and kind of heard the explanation, I do recommend going back through the video and paying attention and watching what I do as the tank throughout the different phases now that you know what to look for.